And joining me now is the host of Somebody's Got to Do It on CNN. You may know him from Dirty Jobs, or what my son used to call it, Dirty Guys, because it always ends up being kind of dirty guys.
It works.
It's Mike Rowe. Mike, how are you? Welcome to Michigan.
Thanks, nice to be back.
I know you've been back here before. You did some work on the Mackinac Bridge with some guys a little while back, too.
Yeah, I did a lot of work on the bridge. Did some work up in the UP, did some work on the Sioux Locks, did some work building log homes somewhere in the UP, did some work in Detroit, Michigan. We love it.
It's a second home.
It's been very good to Dirty Jobs.
All right. You know, a lot of people know you from what you've done on the Discovery Channel, and they hear your voice everywhere. And we've seen you in every Ford commercial that has ever been made. But what people may not know is that back in 2008, you started a foundation called Mike Rowe Works, really highlighting skilled trades. What was the thought behind that for you?
A couple things happened at the same time. The big one was early in 2009, late in 2008, the economy obviously took an ugly turn. And the headlines everywhere were about very high unemployment, 10, 11, 12, 13%. But on my show, everywhere I went, I saw help wanted signs. And it just made me think, what a curious narrative, or a tale of two narratives, really, going on contemporaneously. We have a widening skills gap at the same time we have rising unemployment, and I just started to wonder what's really informing that, you know? And I talked to a lot of the employers who opened up their sets for us, including the Bridge Authority, and the answer really was kind of obvious. There was just no great enthusiasm for a whole category of jobs and a whole category of education that we typically call alternative.
So how do you change that mindset?
You need about 40 years, and you need a steady diet of cultural messages that consistently challenge the stigmas and stereotypes that currently live. You remember the Indian on the side of the road with the tear?
Mm-hmm.
That was part of a PR campaign that came out of a consortium that was formed in the early 50s. Government, NGOs, private sector, concerned citizens, and they wanted to do something about Americans littering, because we were such pigs back then. We'd have a picnic, and we'd just leave our stuff, just toss it. It worked. It took a while, but eventually it challenged the country's relationship with litter. I think we have to challenge the country's relationship with work if we want to challenge the definition of a good job in 2015.
All right, so how does that fit in with Michigan? And now you're with an initiative with the state and trying to help change that perception.
Yeah, I've done, my little organization really works in two ways. Partly it's a megaphone, to the extent that I can have one, and it's a scholarship initiative. But the programs we've worked with before that have worked have been in Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, and the skills gap is a little different in every state. Here in Michigan, though, it's just so perfectly positioned. And by perfect, I don't mean good. I just mean that you've got all of the elements that come into play. First of all, you're kind of in the middle of the country, and you're a famous manufacturing hub. There's a big conversation about wage, which is always going to exist, but there's also now a conversation about age. And these are the numbers that I find are most horrifying. If you look and see 60% of skilled tradesmen well north of 50, and look at who's coming in to replace them,
you don't have
they ain't
numbers.
there.
No.
It just doesn't add up. And yes, you gotta have a conversation about money, I get it, but the big conversation is about willingness to do the jobs and an enthusiasm for it. If that's not there, the bottom falls out.
I got to ask you about your work, and Somebody's Got to Do It on CNN. What do you find makes some of the best stories for that show?
For that show, it's really about people who wake up agitated because the world is not quite the way they want it, or because they're agitated is wrong, afflicted. Right? People who just wake up obsessed either by their vocation or their avocation, a hobby, a hope, a dream, a passion, a quest, quixotic or otherwise. Those people I met on Dirty Jobs all the time, but I really couldn't put them on the show because we were focused more on work and grind. But I always kept the Rolodex of people that I thought the country ought to know. And somebody's got to do it as my chance to go back and say, hey, remember me? I'm back.
Mike, I'm coming back. Just tell me what you're doing.
Right.
I have to ask you about this because when I look back at your bio, it feels like you've done everything. You've done every sort of thing, but the best part was that you were an opera singer. And I said, no way. What was the aria you had to learn to sing for the Baltimore Opera?
The shortest one I could find. It was 1984, and my goal was to get in the entertainment business in any way I could, and this was the only door that was sort of open. So I memorized the Cote aria from La Boheme.
Really? You have some water here on the set. You care to...
Vecchia si marra senti, il resto al pianto, scendere sacri montio devi, le grazia ricevi, and so on and so on and so on.
Oh my God, see, I'm weak in the knees. I told you I would get him to sing.
That's why you're sitting down.
See?
I don't want anybody collapsing here on the public TV.
Mike Rowe just serenaded me on public television. The ratings just jacked up. They just went through the roof.
It's a big day for it. Call me for your what you call your pledge drive. We'll come in and we'll do like interpretive dance and puppets and opera. It'll be weird and great.
Puppets, opera, and interpretive dance. I am so there. You had me at interpretive dance.
Great.
Mike Rowe.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Can we sing a duet maybe sometime together?
Anytime. I'm thinking if you guys need a new theme song for your little show here.
Call Mike Rowe. Thanks.
Sure.